the bigger picture strategy, if Trump were to say, okay, fine, more Chinese imports, let's just remove all the tariffs, everything else he's trying to achieve with everybody else in terms of these trade deals, again, just crumbles to nothing. And every other platform crumbles alongside with it.
What is China's motivation right now to hammer out a trade agreement with the US? How have those 145% tariffs on exports to the US impacted China's economy already?
Well, the data are hard to get, and objective coverage of it in the media is hard to get. But clearly, China is hurting. And from the numbers that we can see, they are now having to redirect exports that were going to the US to other people. Now, that has two implications. The first one is that the US is completely right to try and stop transshipment, saying that Chinese goods can't come through Europe or the UK or Australia or Mexico or ASEAN or anywhere else, which of course will hurt China even more. And at the same time, of course, it shows that China really is still reliant on other people, that they can close out the US, but they do need to keep selling stuff to keep people employed. So it's not as if there's no pressure on them either. It's just potentially that they can ride it out a bit longer than the US, given that they don't have a midterm election coming up in just over 18 months.
Well, how important is it for Donald Trump to have a win in the eyes of Americans? And is that what his imminent executive order on pushing down the price of pharmaceuticals by as much as 80% is about?
Well, yes, every president needs wins. So far, what he's offering up geopolitically is pretty thin gruel. We haven't got peace with Ukraine. We haven't got a deal with Iran. He didn't broker a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. They did it themselves, and he won't be resolving the Kashmir issue. So any number of problems there are not going away. The pharmaceutical thing is huge because anyone who knows that industry will tell you that Americans do pay significantly more for their drugs than anybody else because companies make their money in America and therefore can afford to sell them at much lower prices elsewhere. So the quid pro quo, if he's going to insist that every US pharma firm has to sell at the same low prices in America that they do abroad, prices abroad are going to have to go up. But this speaks to something very important. The overall strategy is still about what I've been calling economic statecraft, rather than just saying, because markets. This is not about trying to push up stock prices of individual companies, even if there is often an element of that to sometimes what Trump is doing. It's about trying to restructure the economy in very, very radical ways, which has huge implications for where financial assets trade.
When we last spoke, you told us that the US-China trade war could see Australia being asked to choose between its major trading partner and key security ally within months. What is your view on that question now?
Well, we have to wait and see what's happening with this China fund. That could absolutely throw a spanner in the works for that past prediction. But if you look at the one between the US and UK, where we do have some details, it's widely recognised that is specifically what it was trying to do for the UK. Not an on-off switch, but gradually turning down the volume. So screening China out of XYZ, ABC, and then over time, more and more. And I still think logically that's most likely to be applied to Australia. It will just be interesting to see what has been achieved with China, if anything, what metrics will be used to judge it, and then what tools are in the toolkit to do something to China again if they don't meet those particular obligations, which of course with the phase one trade deal we had a few years ago, they didn't meet any of.
Michael Every, thank you for your time.
Thank you.